Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast, a hybrid structure encompassing health, fitness, self-improvement, and entertainment, where no topic is off limits and all opinions are graciously welcomed.
Let's get on with the show!
And now, here's the host of the show, Mike Sinopoli.
Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast. I am Mike Sinopoli, certified nutrition coach, consultant, counselor. You can call me whatever you'd like. On this episode, I want to go over the wonderful world of macronutrient or calorie tracking. What that is a change of habit for someone who is looking to adjust the way they eat, usually for a fat loss goal. And to also be overall a little more food conscious and healthier. It's a great transition into a lifestyle change to learn how to track your food. It can be deterring and overwhelming and maybe seeming arduous and tedious at first. That's because it's a big change, because primarily we're used to just eating freely and eating when we're hungry, eating what's available, eating what's fast, eating what's cheap. We are beyond privileged, not to sound like Mr. Righteous, but hey, we're privileged to be able to regulate our food. And we have such an abundance that we have to actually taper down what we're eating and watch it, because we're getting way too obese as a society. And it is an issue. It really is. But, hey, we are also blessed in the fact that we have so much science, so much research, and so much information available to us. Let's just say nutrition labels, just that alone. The fact we have this information that we've determined what a calorie is, that we can go by this and really just determine our own physique through this information, through calories, and then through the macronutrients of protein, fat, and carbs. We can keep an eye on all that, and we have all that information right in front of us just to go for it. And it's great. And the main thing that might deter people from tracking their food, obviously being a tedious change and a very big learning curve for some, is that, fad diets tend to sound easier. With the fad diets that we've had, like I touched on in an episode before, fat grams in the 80s and 90s. We were staying away from fat. Fat was evil. We were going to go on fat-free diets, eat low-fat foods only, and when we eliminate the fat, we will eliminate the fat off of our bodies as well. So that didn't work, as we know. We actually do need fat to survive as humans. Fat and protein are two essential macronutrients that we need to survive. So that didn't work, but that did transition us into the lovely world of low-carb dieting. That sounds so fun, but it's easy. That's what it is. It's easy to just go ahead and say, it's easy instructions, right? Just take away, just don't eat this. Take it away. Just don't eat carbs, and you'll look like $1 million. You're probably going to feel like shit, too. You're going to feel deprived. But, some people have had some success with low-carb diets, I guess, as a lifestyle. For me, I kind of say, well, if I'm going to take carbs away, what am I learning? I'm learning how to restrict. I'm going to eat pizza again, pasta, fruit, potatoes. I'm going to eat all this food again. I'm not going to give it up for my life. So why would I restrict it and get rid of it to hit some sort of physique or body composition goal when I don't really learn how to regulate it or incorporate it into my daily life? And that's what food tracking can do with an ideal calorie and macronutrient count. So forget the low carb deal. Just regulate them and eat the ones that you like, that work for you. Now, if you're a diabetic listening to this before you come and scream at me, I understand that's completely different based on blood sugar and the glucose issue. So if you're a diabetic, this is not about that. This is not about preventing diabetes or treating it. This is strictly body composition. So remember that as I progress through this episode. So what we want to do with food tracking, ideally the way to start is to first buy a digital food scale. A digital food scale can be found on Amazon, Target, Walmart, Meijer, wherever. Probably $10 to $20 tops is all you need. Make sure it measures in ounces and grams. That's the most important because weighing your food will be one of the most mind-blowing, eye-opening experiences you'll ever come across in the diet world. It really will put things in perspective as far as portions go. And that's where I kind of tie in that, hey, this isn't forever. You're not going to weigh your food forever. You're just going to kind of get an idea of the portion sizes you need. You might be blown away by certain things. So that's step one. Step two would be to run your macros on yourself through a calculator online. You can do those. I'll warn you, there are several of them, and you can probably put the same information into 5 different ones and get 5 different macronutrient counts. So that already will confuse people. Or you can go to a nutritionist, nutrition coach like me, and we'll get you a solid start. And remember that your macros are also just a starting point. They might be adjusted. You might have to feel as if you need more carbs, you need more calories, you might need something more. So just, it's a process. It's not going to generate it exact. The next thing you'd want to do when you're going to start tracking is have a food diary of sorts. I recommend MyFitnessPal. That seems to be the most popular one. There are other ones that may be better. Please be aware when you start tracking your food, there is more than just entering data into an app or onto your website on the computer. MyFitnessPal and I believe others allow users to enter data. They enter entries in there. And I've seen some that are just atrocious. I've seen some that have told me Tabasco had a teaspoon of Tabasco had 96 carbs in it. And that's bizarre and weird. And that's not even anywhere near accurate. So you want to check the accuracy. I've seen cheese have 0 fat. Some people just enter the calories so that the calories show up, but the 0 protein, 0 carbs, 0 fats for the macronutrients. So be careful with that. It's another learning curve. It's something I try to help clients with. I kind of eyeball things when they track their food. I go into their MyFitnessPal and I'll review it. Not just to see the totals at the bottom, but I will skim over the whole food log and try to see if there's any erroneous looking entries that were used. And as you're starting out, it's good to have someone to kind of keep an eye on those sorts of things for you, because if you feel like you're doing great, but you're not seeing the results because the information's incorrect, that's an issue in itself. So after you've done that, so you've got your digital food scale, you ran your macros and your calorie count for a calorie deficit for fat loss, and then you've gone ahead and signed up for MyFitnessPal. So what you want to do now is the fun part, and that is sort of to begin the tracking. You got to understand first off too, weighing food cooked versus raw. Now take something like rice. If you're going to weigh that dry, it's going to be a lot lighter than after you cook it, because the water soaks up and the measurement is completely different. And it's significant. It's about 3 times the amount. Meat cooks down. Meat, a piece of raw chicken is about 5 ounces. Say it's 5 ounces. It might cook down to about 4. You really want to be very meticulous with measuring certain foods and maybe a little more lenient with others. I would say vegetables and fruits, for most of them, be lenient. You don't have to weigh your lettuce, your broccoli, your cauliflower, your spinach. You don't have to really weigh that. You can a few times, but it's really hard to overeat that kind of food. So give yourself some buffer for that craziness that might go into your head about being meticulous and on point with everything, and just give up the vegetables for tracking and just go ahead and measure your fats. That is huge. Nuts, avocado, peanut butter, olive oil, things like that. They are very dense. Don't just go ahead and estimate and say, it's about right. You don't know. And you do that enough, you might take yourself out of your calorie deficit and put yourself at maintenance or into a surplus and start gaining weight. So just be very aware. Just because something is labeled a healthy fat, like oil or avocado, doesn't necessarily mean that you can just go ahead and eat as much as you want. It's healthy on a nutrition level, on a nutrient level. Okay. So on a calorie level, it's very high calories. You got to keep an eye on that. You can easily put down 1,000 calories with enough fat foods, and if you're not tracking it. Same thing with your protein. You want to measure that, especially so you hit that target. With protein, when you're dieting, a lot of people just assume I just need to eat as little as possible and move around. In a way, maybe, but not really, because you might undereat and you might go into a significant protein deficit. So you really want to weigh and measure your protein, and you don't want to skimp and not have your protein. You want to hit your protein target. If you need 130 grams of protein a day, if that's what your macronutrient count for protein is set at, you want to hit that. You don't want to fall underneath that. So, that's gonna start deteriorating your muscle mass. You're gonna be less full. You're gonna be less satiated. It's the way it's gonna go. And you really, really want to eat that. Believe it or not, a high protein count daily is more important while you're trying to lose fat than it really is while you're trying to build muscle. Don't get me wrong, it's important for both, but you want to keep that base, that solid muscle mass that you have. You want to keep that firmly intact. That is very, excuse me, vital tissue for your metabolism and for many other things. So you want to keep that protein count up when you're in this deficit. So you want to think of it like, I'm not just shrinking my whole self, I'm shrinking the fat around myself. So you want the fat to come off primarily. So that's what you want to do with your protein tracking. However you find it easiest, after a while you might be able to eyeball things, but don't get too cute too fast. Log it in, check it over. At first you might have to even check some nutrition labels, make sure you're doing it accurately. If you care enough, you're going to do this. If you're dedicated, you're going to do it. I do recommend, working with a coach, trainer at first. I love doing it. I love helping people and opening their eyes to this kind of stuff. And that's just the way it's going to go. And as you progress and introduce new foods and create new meals, you're going to start to see you don't have to weigh and measure as much. And eventually you might not even have to track. So you just want to get yourself in that right spot so that you're losing fat, preserving your muscle, tracking your food, keeping it realistic. You don't have to make your meals super glamorous. You just get it, make them effective. Add a few sauces and things, but count them, cheese and sauce and whatever else it is to make it taste right. And you can just go from there. So once you've got a few days down under your belt and you feel like you're hitting everything right and it's accurate, from there, it's the old boring game of consistency. Just keep doing it day in, day out. Give yourself some room for error. Give yourself some room to have a meal where you're not thinking about it for a little bit. Because if you're just consistently tracking 100% of the time and going, you're going to burn out. Because it is freeing to go to a restaurant, sit there, and just eat and not have to think about it. The same thing at home. It's okay. One time, but just get back on, like we've talked about before. So with food tracking, that's really all it is. It's very simple, but sounds very overwhelming when you're not there. If you don't know something, you just estimate it. You can Google it if there's not a label on something. I don't recommend tracking food from restaurants because, as I've stated before, that count is probably not accurate. But you can always estimate it and just do your best and assume. So with tracking is obviously the counterpart to the meal plan. If you want to have a meal plan made for you, I recommend that being customized and individualized just for you. But you would still go through the same process of sort of weighing and measuring the food. You just wouldn't be logging and tracking because you have it all laid out for you. You can also do that up front. That's what I do for myself typically. I don't like to track. I don't like to track as I go. I prefer to make a plan for the week, and I use that as my grocery list. I throw everything into my fitness pal, what I want to eat. And it's not all just chicken, rice, and broccoli. It's all kinds of foods that I enjoy and that hit my targets and keep me relatively healthy. I do put health involved in it. It's not just body composition. I do want to be internally healthy as well. I go about an 80-20 on it, So 80% of it is whole, natural food, hitting my protein target, vegetables, good carbs. And then, I'll put on some fun food in there. Maybe want some ice cream, maybe a cookie, maybe cereal, whatever I'm feeling. And that just kind of uses as a grocery list for me. And I buy what I need, prep what I need. I keep my prep very simple. I do it all within an hour or so on a Sunday. And then I'll go ahead and just Tupperware those things and heat them up as I need it. I keep a lot of easy foods around, some protein bars, yogurts. If you need something, ready-made protein shakes are also good to go. They come in the little boxes almost. Those are good. Just keep things around. Keep your snacks protein heavy. Even beef jerky, that's can be high in sodium, but it's a decent protein profile there. It's not bad. So think about things like that to keep around and as you're tracking, so you can hit that protein target. Make that your two goals when you track. You hit protein, stay in the calorie deficit. That is the ultimate goal right there, and lift weights. So that's the kind of an overview on calorie tracking in short. I'm sure there's a lot of questions out there that'll be. So please feel free to contact me at MFS Wellness. That's at Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can also message me, or I should say email me, at mike@mfswellness.com. So feel free to do that if you have any questions on calorie tracking, macronutrient tracking, or anything of the sort. Until next time, take care, and we will see you.